We donate more than 100 million prenatal vitamins per year. I think next year it will be 200 million prenatal vitamins every year to needy mothers, 25% of them right here in America and the rest in countries around the world.
Thank you for your orders. You're making a difference for yourself and other people as well. Well, it's time to say goodbye to Coenzyme Q10 for 2019. Continue to order up until midnight when the price will go up if there are any left. I want to tell you the same will happen with our ChocoNuvo. However, that won't be the case because there will definitely be zero left. Andrew, the best tasting chocolate on earth.
And unfortunately, with ChocoNuvo isn't as easy for us to turn on a dime and produce it. Right. So we can do that with our CoQ10. ChocoNuvo not so easily. So this is a product that it goes away all summer. And it underscores how unique this is, not just that it substantially lowers total and LDL cholesterol. That's the bad cholesterol that it lowers, that it targets specifically. But this is a chocolate that's unlike any other dark chocolate. If you don't like dark chocolate, then you're kind of like me. I've always been a milk chocolate lover. But our dark chocolate, it's like milk chocolate because it has the creamy texture of milk chocolate. So you choose 66%, which is the least dark, 74% middle dark, and 91% seriously dark. And that they all don't have that unpleasant characteristic of dark chocolate, which makes it kind of dry and brittle, kind of sandy in your mouth. Yeah. It's creamy. You could put even the 91% on your tongue and it will melt in your mouth like milk chocolate, like no other dark chocolate you've ever tried. So it's not just the healthiest chocolate in the world, not just the heart healthiest chocolate, and that's not hype. It's a fact. There's no healthier chocolate in the world than this, but also I'm equally confident saying there is no more delicious dark chocolate in the world than this dark chocolate. I'll put it up against any dark chocolate in the world. I tried them all. I selected the best. And when we added our cholesterol-lowering ingredient, it gave it the texture of milk chocolate. So now you have the best of both worlds. The rich flavor of dark chocolate, the creamy texture of milk chocolate, the best of both worlds.
The best pricing of the year is about to expire, folks. I definitely want you to take advantage. If your answer to my next question is yes, you need to buy it. Here's the question. Are you ready? Do you like chocolate? You said yes, you've got to buy this. It's the best chocolate, tastiest chocolate, creamiest chocolate, and it's going to help lower your cholesterol. What more could we want in life? Here's the pricing. Final few hundred, everybody. 30, let me just move that bottle out of the way for a second. 30, 60, 120 or 300 servings. Most people are doing here because we're thinking about the holidays, entertaining family, friends, even Halloween. $259.90 normally for gourmet, best tasting organic fair trade chocolate. Your price if you order before midnight is $129.90. It saves you as much as you're spending. It sounds crazy for those of us that are tuning in for the very first time, but when Andrew achieved this breakthrough, it made many of us very, very happy. One of the things that I know we don't have time for, but the reviews. Andrew, people are excited about the cholesterol levels going lower.
Well, there's sort of two kinds of reviews you'll find. The review's the typical one, and I guess people have confidence in my ability to make vitamins, but not necessarily to make chocolate. But some people will say that I knew if Andrew was making it, it would be great chocolate. But a lot of them say, well, I was a little skeptical, but if you read the reviews, that's what people are struck by, that this actually is. And if I set out to do something, I always say, and I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said it, that there's one best way to do everything. And when it comes to chocolate, there is a best way. So I went and found the best organic fair trade chocolate growers around the world, and I selected the best tasting chocolate. I didn't even look at how much it cost. I just selected the best tasting chocolate. And then I found the best, creamiest plant sterols in the world, plant sterol esters that naturally lower cholesterol. And I married the two together, hoping, but never dreaming it would turn out the way it did, and it did. And if you read the reviews, you'll see I guess there's more than 1,000 reviews, you're going to see reviews that talk about just the flavor just being incredible. And to think that a flavor-based product like this, that I think about 75% of the reviews, and you have to remember, in America, most people like white chocolate and milk chocolate, not dark chocolate. But for about 75% of the reviews on this product to be 5-star reviews, and for 80 plus, close to 90% to be positive on something that's flavor and something that's dark chocolate, including a 91% dark chocolate. I mean, I'm astounded. I would have been happy if 40 or 50% of the reviews were 5-star reviews, given Americans' distaste for dark chocolate. But my dark chocolate is different from the very start, because I'm one of those people who do not like dark chocolate. So for me, to love this chocolate, it has to have the texture of milk chocolate. It has to have the richness of dark chocolate without its bitterness. And best of all, it doesn't just have a small impact for some people in terms of cholesterol. This is something that's going to have a substantial impact on total cholesterol and lowering your bad cholesterol. This is something, that ingredient has been approved by the US Food and Drug Administration to lower total and LDL cholesterol, to help to reduce your risk of heart disease. And it's an ingredient that, when you look at all the natural tools at our disposal to lower cholesterol, and you look at the clinical studies, #1 on the list as the most effective tool